Jaffe Zinn, director of Magic Valley. Welcome.
Thank you.
What is your film Magic Valley about?
In a nutshell, it's basically about the course of events over a day in a small town in Idaho after a girl has been murdered, and basically what transpires after that and how that affects a bunch of different people who are seemingly unconnected in this town, but through this event come together.
Like you said, this is a film about a crime, but it's not an ordinary drama about solving the crime. You focus on the town and the people surrounding this girl and how it affects them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, and it's about the events that happen after a crime, although calling it a crime is maybe not actually correct either. That's kind of open, hopefully, to interpretation some, but it's after the death of a girl, definitely. And I guess your question is how this is different than how
yeah, and how
we usually explores that kind of thing, or
yeah, and how come you wanted to approach it this way?
Okay, I guess for me it's interesting. It's being marketed or sold or talked about as a whodunit mystery, which I never thought of it as a mystery. For me, it was always, you know who did it, you know who's involved, you know everything that's happening. The movie was more, for me, about showing when you know what's coming, like how just normal events in your daily life have a completely different tone to them, or a different quality to them. It's like, for example, if something terrible has happened in your life and you don't know about it yet, and you're giving this interview to me today, this interview is not really going to have too much bearing on how you feel about what's going on in your life, you know, later on in the day when you find out this terrible thing has happened, which I hope that's not the case.
Me neither.
That was a bad example, maybe. But it's more about like how people are living in the midst of a tragedy and they're not aware of the tragedy yet. And because you know, it's sort of like giving the audience hindsight that the characters don't have yet. So for me, it was never really as much of a mystery as more of just exploring people's like actual lives in the event that, you know, something out of the ordinary has happened to them and they don't know about it yet.
What is your next project, perhaps?
My next project? Well, I have two scripts ready to go. One of them is a horror film that's kind of based around this Japanese form of dance called Buto, which is this really contortionist sort of weird dance where if you're doing it right, it almost looks like you're being possessed, and you can kind of guess where the movie goes from there. But I want to shoot it like a Tarkovsky movie. Like I want it to be like very, my goal, and this is very lofty, I know, but I want to make the most beautiful horror movie ever made. That's my plan. Which I realize is probably already taken, in my opinion, by The Shining by Kubrick, but I'd like to do a follow-up, second most pretty horror movie ever made. But that's one of them, and the other one is based around the Norwegian black metal scene, which maybe, I don't know, being in Sweden, if you're there, it kind of spilled over into Sweden a little bit as well. But
you're asking the wrong person.
It's a really insane form of music in the 90s. Like there were guys who were like burning down churches and like killing each other, and it was like a really crazy scene. But one of the things that was very interesting about it to me was that members of the scene, after like being arrested or, you know, going to jail for these really terrible crimes, maintained what seemed to be decent relationships with family members who would release their albums from within jail, and this like weird sort of feeling that despite the terrible things these people were doing, and despite the fact that they were trying to look like really evil, scary people, that they, you know, my idea is that they probably like to eat vanilla pudding and pet kittens, and like there's this like other, you know, like they brush their teeth in the morning, you know, it's like these the normal things that they're doing, and that's the other movie that Matthew Goobler's going to be in. So those are the two next projects.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me
yeah.
too.
Thank you very much. Thank you.